Hi. Yeah. I was just asked to talk a little bit about what we've done with our school menus and in conjunction with our school kitchen. So we're lucky enough to have our own staff in the kitchen. We're a primary school. We're lucky enough to have our own staff in the kitchen, so we don't have an outside catering firm that are employed. So that's made that lots of things very much easier for us in that way. And I know that it's sometimes difficult to do it when you have an outside agency that have got that. But we're working very much on reducing food waste by being very adaptive with our menus. So we review our menus very regularly. We have had dedicated food waste bins for some time, and we measure the food waste that we have periodically to try and gauge with menus what days might have more waste than others. So where we have higher waste days, we have a look at adapting the menu to try and put something in which is equivalent but is going to create less waste. We're trying to well, we're not trying. We are increasing the amount of meat-free dishes that we have, or by having meat-free options, but also by steadily increasing the amount of beans and pulses and veg that we have within meat dishes. So the actual meat content of our meat dishes is sort of reducing regularly. We have quite a few options in lunch, which the for lunch that the children choose in the morning, so that we don't cook too much of any choice. So we have a vegetarian main option. We have a meat. Uh, well, it's not always a meat option. Some days it's the main option is the vegetarian option. We have a street food option, so that might be a breakfast wrap or something like that. We have a jacket potato option and have a different filling each day. And we have a cold option, a roll, which is a different filling each day. So therefore, the children who always eat a school dinner um, have have a bigger chance of having an option that they're going to eat all of, that they're not going to take the option and then throw most of it away. So that's reduced our food waste. We're trying to help children to diversify their food choices. So we make use of celebration days and special days and create menus which sound really fun or appealing, but with the idea that we're replacing meat dishes with special dishes for our special days, which then are meat free or have very little meat in them. We've got our own garden. We do have a polytunnel and a greenhouse, so we're really lucky. So our in terms of watering over the summer, we try not to put anything in our greenhouse over the summer because the things absolutely bake. But our polytunnel, we find that we can. It's quite a happy medium in that it's really good for growing, but it's not quite as uh, you don't have to water it quite as often as the greenhouse. So in the summer in particular, we take food out of the garden, and the kitchen use that to try and broaden the sort of the children's range of food that they like. So we particularly make different coleslaws and sort of making use of the sort of colours of the the red cabbage and things to make them look quite appealing and different. We have things like pear cake and courgette cake and market them in different ways so that the children eat them, realise that they like them before they know what's in them sometimes, and things like that. We try where possible to make our own sauces. So we make our own tomato ketchup and sauces so that we've got less sugars in there and obviously less packaging, and it uses up. If the children have had, we're a 3-form entry school, so we've got 90 children in each year group. So we're quite big for a primary school. So if the fruit that's been sent on the fruit and veg scheme is tomatoes, we quite often take any of the tomatoes that the children haven't eaten and then make tomato ketchup with those. We use locally sourced food wherever possible. So we have we do work with the local butcher and have meat direct from the butcher rather than sort of catering suppliers. We use food from the allotment. We use the food that's left over from the infant fruit and veg. So, for example, today we had roasted baby carrots with the carrots that were left over from the fruit and veg that the infants didn't want. When we in terms of composting, we compost our allotment garden waste on a compost heap, but we've also invested in we've got a big run of wormeries, and they've been really, really useful for composting, particularly composting the apple cores from the children's morning snacks and the peelings and the wastes that you were talking about, that sort of is quite difficult not to create the food waste. So we're using those a lot in our wormeries, and obviously then using the compost from the wormeries to feed the allotment, which is really good as well. We're part of we have a SNAG group, so School Nutrition Action Group, which is formed of children and then Governor and our kitchen a member of our kitchen staff and sort of all areas of the school. So then we're working to the Soil Association, Food for Life. And then we're working also with other organisations in the local area. So we've got a local garden centre, which is a nursery and a garden centre, and we've had children go and visit them to see how the food is made, and actually, they were able to climb up into the combine harvester and things. So that was really good. But also we've done some work over the autumn just gone with an apple farm to reintroduce the adults and introduce the children to heritage apples, and must admit that we were eating the different apple varieties that they'd brought in that were grown on the farm down the road, thinking, why ever do we eat supermarket apples, because they are so much more tasty than some of the apples that are in the we've forgotten the apples from our youth and how much more tastier they are than the so we had the people from the apple farm come in and talk about apple growing and the different varieties, and how the children did apple tasting and realised that even if they thought they didn't like apples, there was an apple variety for them. So it's sort of things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing with our food at the moment.
Thank you.